let's go back to the idea of stepping stones in the Austin cycling community. This is something that I have not seen anywhere else in the nation.
Phil, for you.
Austin is one of the best cities to group ride a bicycle in. You can pretty much pick your day, pick your discipline, like whether it's on road or off road, and pick the speed you want to do. And there is a group ride going.
Yeah.
And honestly, most days you can pick morning or evening as well.
Yeah, so that's mountain bike, gravel ride, or road ride.
Yep.
You could pick either one of those three,
Yep.
and then you could pick, casual or we're going to hammer it.
Right.
In any three of those.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. And that is truly unique. So, at the time that I started, like there were these social rides that like Critical Mass and the Thursday night social ride. And those were honestly, those were probably my first group rides that were of the social variety, not the sport variety, but they were still, that's still big stepping stones. First time I rode with 50 people was almost certainly on the Thursday night social ride. And like, again, that was, it's for many people, I think that's a transitional ride from cycling as, commuter or transportation oriented towards something that is recreational or social.
Right.
And then, there are slower group rides in town. There was a Scouter Route ride that Mellow Johnny's was leading back that time. There was a group called the Tank Engine Crew that used to meet. I think it was on Wednesdays that was a little bit more moderately paced. These days, like Team Snack still leads some rides that are more focused on the women's community, but frequently open. Like, I'm not going to have an extensive list of these here.
Yeah,
but there were these
ones.
Yeah, these no drop social rides or social-ish rides that start you in that 10 to 13 mile an hour range, and oftentimes start at around an hour or hour and a half in length. Like that's your bread and butter. That was what the Shoal Creek shootout at UT was for me, right? So yeah, that's how most people start. And then I think you do start transitioning into these little bit longer group rides. So traditionally, like motor was a little bit longer, a little bit faster. You might start looking at the C or the B group from Breakfast Club modern day riding selections, or you start looking at like the VC Sunday ride. And then from there, you start looking at more advanced rides.
Breakfast Club. I think the bagel ride is going to be one of those.
Yeah.
Because Slim or Greg Hall will lead an extra 20 miles.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, yeah, I'll do that. That sounds like fun. Next thing you know, I'm doing a century.
Yeah. Because he got lost or there's a road closed out there, and he knows encyclopedically where he's going, but you don't.
Well, I just have this, and then I've got the 19 miles there and back to the start.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one thing. I ended up one level. Like there's one level of what's the pace, and you said this beginner pace is like 10 to 13.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's duration.
Yeah.
And so the beginner duration is like about an hour, which is about 13 miles.
Yeah.
If you're going 10 to 13, 10 to 13 miles, you're doing 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then this next layer is you're doing 2 hours plus somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And it's about 14 to 16 mile hour pace probably.
Yeah. You start looking at 30 mile an hour average overall. And then also,
wait, what did you say?
I'm sorry. You start looking at about 30 mile distance overall.
Right.
Sorry. 30 miles an hour. No, I was jumping ahead to the next thing, which is like a lot of times those 2 hour rides do tend to feature some of these elements where like there's a section where people will push the pace, whether it's a hill or a flat. And that's where people oftentimes start to like go faster or push themselves a little bit.
Sprint section.
Yeah, there might be a sprint section.
Or a hot, they'll call
or
it
a push.
Hot zone or
hot zone.
What do they call it?
Hotspot.
Hotspot or sprint or
yeah, and every ride has like a little different zone. Like some rides are very informal about it, some rides are very formal about it, some rides regroup after it.
Some rides never
on
regroup. The
regroup.
ride dictate, this is a hotspot now.
Right.
And then the ride, they just like, wait, this isn't a hotspot, guys, but it's too late.
Yeah. And some rides, like I have a distinct memory of like one of the first group rides I did when I was living out in California. It was the Montrose ride. I'd gone on the B group because I thought that was very sensible rather than the A group. You know, they kind of split and then they kind of merged back together. And we went up this one hill and a couple people tried and they got reeled back in. I was like, well, you know, we're having fun. Like when we hit this next hill, like I'll try. We hit this next hill and I went and nobody came with me. And so
when
I started.
You say went, you mean like you broke away?
Yeah, like I sprinted up the hill, you know, or put in an effort, broke away, and I looked around and nobody had come with me. And this is my first time doing the ride. Like I had the route on my I didn't even have a computer at the time. I don't know if I had the route. I might have just been following, somebody yell at me because it was before. Like I think I was just recording on my phone. Anyway, but I pretty quickly realized that probably meant bad news for what was about to happen next on the ride. So, you know, I sat up, the group caught me, and then the next like 5 miles into the finish was nothing but, you do this ramp hill and then you turn across the base of the mountain and there'd be this crosswind. And you just did that to the finish line. And I went out the back of the group so fast. Because I just put in an effort. I'd burned my match sprinting when, you know, these early people, they were trying on the pre-hill. They were, you know.
That happened to me on one
the A group caught us. Oh, man.
Bagel rides. We were coming back. You know, they'd go out there to Ware or wherever. And we're coming back. And we hit this hill. And I was like, all right. Bagel ride, there's a lot of people of different age groups, but in the B group, there's some older folks. And I thought, man, I'm still young and spry. And so I crushed it up this hill, and I won. I won the day.
Yeah.
The next thing I knew, there was 2 more hills. It was like 3 hills, and I was like, what? I thought I was done here. So then this whole group of people just passed me, and I'm just, you know, where?
Yeah, and that's one of those, again, that's one of those foundational experiences in that 2-ish hour ride B group kind of pace experience. I think everyone that's stuck with the sport has shown up, realized, oh, this is a hard part after they've been feeling good, right? You know, they tried to go or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's all that like middle rung of the ladder there. And some people stay there. Like there's nothing wrong. Like 2 hours is a great ride. Having the flexibility to go do 30 miles with a group is very approachable.
Yeah, and it's about 14 to 16, maybe even to 18, 16 to 18 mile per hour pace.
Yeah.
With the sprint zones being anywhere from 20 miles per hour to 25, maybe, depending.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
If you're on Great Northern, those.
Yeah,
You'll put the hammer down.
You're going to hit 30.
That. Yeah.
And also, like, for transitioning to that next group ride level, I think those hotspots are kind of important.
Really, they are.
Because it's where you know, a lot of those rides are in town. Those hotspots are where you start riding in closer proximity to the riders next to you. Mm-hmm. You ride more in formation.
Drafting.
You start to see, the benefit of the draft is more important. Where you place your wheel is more important. You learn, you know, I don't want to put my wheel there. You see who you trust to be that close to, who you don't trust.
Steady wheels.
Yeah. And then also you learn, mistakes made at 25 miles an hour compound much faster than mistakes made at 18 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that's another. Group rides are almost always going to have crashes on them. I don't think they're necessary or inherent, but I think it's going to happen. But like you expect to see mistakes sometimes in that area, and you hope that people recognize them there before they start showing up on the A-paced rides where, you know, a mistake made at 30 miles an hour in a peloton of 20 or 30 riders can have 10 people on the ground really fast.
Yeah.
So that's another part of that stepping stone is, you know, you're probably going to have a small crash in that B period time of your life. And
you're going to learn.
Yeah, you hope.
And so then you then, or I did, I think I had definitely a crash. I had one on one of our rides where Paulie came and jumped and helped me fix the tire. Remember on that turn past the Home Depot when we take that turn over on the Circle C ride.
Yeah.
But I'd also, on one of the Bicycle House rides, I'd hit one of those darn turtles.
Yeah.
And went head over tea kettle, and that like put me out.
Yeah, the turtles and the armadillos didn't really exist when I was first starting to ride, and that's probably a good thing. I think I would have had a lot more crashes.
I was just shooting the bull. Next thing I know, there's a turtle in the middle of the road.
Yeah. That's from an advocacy side. A lot of our riders really don't like those as lane separators because they can be hard to see
And
or easy to forget about. And
the adhesive dislodges, and then now they're in the middle of the bike lane.
Right, or they get run over and they become fractured elements out there, and or the posts get broken, and you've got these kind of things that hinder experienced riders. Like to be honest, like no bicycle infrastructure is designed for group riding.
That's true. That's why we ride in the lane mostly.
That is, yeah. We can talk about car culture as well in that, but yeah, I think that overall the safety improvements and the amount of bike lanes in Austin that have increased in the past 10 years have been awesome. There are some connections that I'm still not wild about. And, we have lots of opinions about lane separators. I think my preference is for grade separated paths that don't have these obstacles in your way, but those are very expensive to install. So as a transitional time, we'll deal with them and hope not too many people crash. So
the next level of bike group ride, if we put social rides, we're putting like the Thursday night social ride and like there's a bunch of them. You mentioned the pace. It's like an hour, so it's like 10 to 13 miles. The pace is 10 to 13 miles per hour. It's easy. The next level is probably the Tuesday Thursday ride. Yeah, that's you're doing about 30 miles or so. And then the next level would probably be like the Sunday ride. You think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd put motor or Sunday into that category.
Because you're doing
3-ish hours.
You're doing 3-ish hours. You're doing more like 50 to 60 miles.
Yeah, or even 40 on the low end. Like, I still think there's a threshold there. But really, it's most people like to think about it in terms of time commitment on the bike.
3 hours on the bike.
Around that 3-hour mark, you're doing a long ride. Not a super long ride, but that's that longer weekend ride kind of space.
But you still haven't gotten... So the bagel would fit into that, right?
Yeah. Bagel Plus is a little bit next tier.
Yeah, next tier.
But then that next tier starts to specialize too. Like you've got the more racing focused rides, like the bagel is a little bit...
If you're on the A group, I don't know, even the B group, the pack closer to the gas station...
Yeah,
it gets a little fast.
Yeah, it gets fast.
I've gotten dropped a couple miles outside of Weir more than once.
Yeah.
Because everybody's ready to get to that gas station and I just can't keep up.
Yeah. But then you've also got like again, that specialization role. You've got randoneering groups and bike packing groups that are going out and they're doing, these like odd axes that are, 100 kilometers for starters, but they might be doing them fully laden, or they might be doing a 200-kilometer ride.
Fully laden means you got all the gear for camping and stuff?
Yeah, self-sufficient. You might have your camp gear or just all your food and water.
Heck yeah, bike camping.
So yeah, but like most people go through that B and maybe into the A group ride.
You're in a different category if you're riding A group on the bagel.
Yeah, sure.
Or even A group on Breakfast Club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like those guys are beasts.
Yeah, you're riding hard. And you have to have, you hope you have the skills and the fitness to be there.
Oof.
Because if you get distracted on those rides, like we said, there are consequences to that. And that's where some elitism in cycling comes in. There's this thought that, if you've shaved your legs, you've taken the commitment step of doing that. You're showing people like, oh, you're serious. You ride enough. You've got some skills. I can trust you.
You shave your legs?
Not year round. I do sometimes.
You do sometimes.
I prefer to only shave for racing.
It's shaved legs. It's crisped tan lines.
Tan lines. Is your chain dirty? Is your bike making noise? There are all these things that people are trying to use as snap judgments of your skill and ability on the bike.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's an element of that is related to their personal safety and risk.
Yeah.
That said, all of those are visual indicators. They really don't tell you how good someone is on their bike.
Yeah.
But that's where sometimes people make that aesthetic, elitist mark. Like, if you have a nice bike, you got shaved legs, you look like a pro, maybe you're safer on those rides. But
then the next level is what? Like I did a MAPS 100-mile ride. Well, for a while I was doing 100 miles every weekend because I was preparing for the Tour das Hugel.
Yeah, sure.
Because I wanted to do the Tour das Hugel. So every weekend I would do 100 miles.
Sorry, I don't mean to roll my rides. I think doing 100 miles every weekend is not much of a training plan. It's impressive, but maybe not the most efficient way to achieve your goals.
Well, I had to do two things for the Tour das Hugel. I had to ride 110 miles in one day.
Sure.
And then I had to ride 11,000 feet of elevation gain in one day.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to do both of those on the same day.
No.
Except for on Das Hugel Day.
Yeah.
And I figured the easier one to accomplish was the 100 miles.
Yeah. But it's at the same time, once you know you can do 100 miles. And honestly, like, again, this is where, like, when I think about where people are in their cycling career, my personal opinion is if you can ride for 3 hours and you can finish 3 hours and you do not feel exhausted and you're able to eat and drink well, the only thing that you need to do to accomplish a 100-mile ride is to continue eating and drinking well. Right? Like, everything that you have at that 3-hour mark is what you need to get that next distance done.
Yeah.
So, if you ride a century every weekend for 4 weeks before you go to the Tour das Hugel, I think for the average person, you're just making yourself more tired than you need to be.
Oh, you don't need to do it that many times?
Not like you need to do it that many times. Well, that said, you can do some 4 and 5 hour rides.
I
like,
didn't have any
wrong
professional trainers helping me with this. I just, in my own little brain, I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
But, 100 miles, in my opinion, it's just a number on a board. You can get that physical training load many different ways.
I see.
And you should balance that.
I did do a couple Tour das Hugel training rides where we would do half of it. I did the first half.
Yeah.
And then another weekend we did the second half.
Yeah.
Those were brutal days.
Absolutely. But I think that's actually better training because that...
Probably so. Because I'm getting the elevation.
Well, you're also getting the familiarization with it too.
With the route. And yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And then also that helps you a lot as an athlete or just somebody that's athletically minded in preparing yourself mentally for what's ahead, right?
So what's the next level of group rides? Is it just going on A groups or is it longer rides or is it...
I mean, that, like I said, this is the specialization
so then you
phase.
Specialize.
Well, I mean, you don't have to, but like that's where people start looking at like goal events, right? And that's really, really diverse market here, right? Like the Tour das Hugel is a annual goal event for many people, right?
Right. It's like the cycling
just doing 100 miles is a goal event for many beginners or intermediate
Howard just
cyclists.
did his first 100.
Howard just did his first 100 on the Red Poppy ride.
Yeah.
And had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Did I have any doubt that Howard could do 100 miles?
I didn't.
Zero.
Yeah,
Zero.
He's
he didn't train anything specifically for it that I'm aware of.
He just crushed it.
But you also look at folks that are going and doing, there's so many fantastic rides. There's the Hotter in Hell 100.
Up in Wichita Falls?
Up in Wichita Falls. That's still the biggest Gran Fondo in America. There's plenty of other categories in that Gran Fondo, which...
Gran Fondo means...
lightly competitive road mass start. Meaning like everyone starts together. They might have a timed segment. They might time you for the whole thing. There might be a podium. There might not be a podium. Oftentimes there's a finisher's medal.
But what makes it grand is that the distance is a metric century or a full century or like an American century.
Man, it's
a long distance. It's grand.
I mean, gran, Gran. I don't actually know where the history of that term comes from or the term fondo. They tend to be in scenic places. They tend to focus on challenging routes. Things that, to accomplish them or to complete them is an accomplishment, right? And I think that's what separates like the competitive nature of a Gran Fondo from something like a specialized bicycle race where you have like a category and a podium, that sort of thing. And for Gran Fondos, like these are largely like they are tests of your physical abilities on the bike, your mental abilities, your resilience. Some people at the front are pushing the pace. Many of them are just looking to set their fastest time on the course or to complete it.
So then Tour das Hugel is a Gran Fondo.
Tour das Hugel is an all but organization.
It's
Gran
a Gran Fondo,
right? They have aid stations.
And it's organized. It's got a start. It's definitely got
exactly. It just doesn't have the permits and the insurance and entry fees and
which is probably all important stuff.
Oh, but that's a community driven Gran Fondo, right? And that's no knock against that, right? It's different than people that are, selecting the Hotter in Hell for a fondo, right?
Right.
Or even some of these charity rides, Red Poppy ride, the Rosedale ride, the Hill Country ride for AIDS. These are the MS 150, these large charity rides.
Oh yeah.
Charity ride's a little different than a fondo, but they're also, just simply because there's a fundraising component to them that some people find engaging too.
Yeah.
But there's still, all of those are in the nature of, setting a goal for yourself and planning towards that.
This is what people train for.
Right.
FYI, for all the viewers out there, the Tour das Hugel is a yearly event. It's a 1 day, 110 miles, 11,000 feet of elevation gain through Austin, Texas. It's all the biggest hills in Austin.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And it's a hard day.
It's a very hard day.
I trained for it. I did it. I got to right before Smoky Valley. My bottom bracket was like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. And then my wheels were all doing this, and I was starting to click in, and I was like, should I keep going?
Yes.
I took pictures. Yeah, that's what I thought. I took pictures of it. I texted all my bicycle mechanic friends, hoping they'd say, you'll be fine. Although my body was saying, hopefully they say, pack it up for the day. I had two different things going on. But they said pack it up. So I actually didn't get to finish it, and have been kicking myself for a long time because in my mind, I was doing it.
Yeah.
That was my day, right? I was doing this Tour das Hugel.
And now you have to go back.
I get to go back.
Yeah, you do. You have the flexibility, but you have to.
I do have
this.
to.
This is the thing that I think I'm sure this exists in other sports, but there's this compulsion. Like when you set out to achieve one of these
goal,
things,
yeah.
If you don't get there, like you said,
it's still to be ticked off for me.
Yeah, but at least I feel like if I haven't done that, I want to go back and achieve that element. And
Heck yeah.
That's that resilience to failure. You outrode your bike that day.
I outrode my bike.
And that sucks. There's an element of luck. There's an element of planning to that.
Yeah.
And you did all this training and it didn't work out. That said, you still want to show up and go through that experience again.
I do.
It's meaningful to achieve a full Tour das Hugel. It's meaningful to achieve all of these.
You've done it?
Yeah. I think I've done 2. They don't get easier.
For all of y'all out there, the first half of the Tour das Hugel is a regular group ride, right? It's just, it's Lost Creek and Cuernavaca, or is it Marley Way? But it's not hard. It is hard.
It's very hard.
But people do that as a group ride.
Sure.
That route.
Also, let's not forget, you usually start with doing the high road.
Oh, yeah, never mind. I forgot.
Yeah, you do the high road, and then you descend Cuernavaca, and then you go River Hills.
Mountain. Never mind.
You hit Terrace Mountain after you do Lost Creek. It's not.
Yeah, actually.
It's about double what you'd normally do on a standard Saturday hill ride.
That's right. It actually is double.
And that's the start. That's the first loop.
That's the first loop. But then on the second one, doing Courtyard, and then City Park, and Buford, and, going all the way down. What is the name of that road? You drive all the way down to the bottom of it and then turn around and ride all the way back up to the top. River Place Trail, all of those. It's just, oh my God.
Yeah.
The second half is just brutal.
Yeah. And that's where I thought, from a training perspective for a task like that, sometimes seeing the second half of the ride, important mentally, or can be important mentally. I know when I do Tour das Hugel, and it's been a while since I've done a full one now because I know what's fun for me at the moment. I've done it. I've checked my boxes. Yeah. I will do it again, I'm sure, as long as my body is able. I'll do it again because it's still fun. It's still an accomplishment for anybody in their career. But that second half, you have some of the hardest hills, but you also have this
Smoky Valley. You
have this time between them, right? Where it's early in the ride, the hills kind of come fast and hit you hard, and you're okay, I'm climbing, I'm not climbing, I'm climbing, I'm not climbing. Towards the end there, you have 20 minutes to spin and relax your legs, and then you hit another one. And you have just the time to reflect and say, oh yeah, that's coming.
Yeah.
But if you also if you know it, you can do it. You can climb Jester.
I
any
climb
day.
Jester, yeah.
Exactly.
I can climb Jester.
So if you've made it all the way to you said Smoky Valley, like
I was right before.
you were right there.
I was right there.
Right
I was
there.
at the beginning of the second half. I think Smoky Valley is kind of the beginning of the second half.
Oh, you were just starting.
Yeah, that's
on
the beginning of
leg.
the second half.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were hitting on your way back in.
No.
All right, sorry.
I missed the whole, I didn't do the dam.
This is
deal,
it's changed since.
Yeah, it changes every year a little bit, the route, right?
Yeah, but it's changed significantly since 2021 or so. It used to return on 360, but now that there's all that construction on 360 to expand the length.
So what we're
So
talking about,
now you come and climb back over that hill again. So I thought you'd already done all that.
No, I didn't do.
Oh.
I didn't do any of the River Place Trail, none of the courtyard, none of all
that's
that
for
stuff.
the better. That's for the better
that's for
then.
sure.
You don't need to do that part of the ride twice if you.
So what we're talking about is once you're doing these group rides and they're preparing you for something, and in your mind you'll have some goal.
Yeah, some people just stay doing the group rides and just do the social stuff, right? And there's nothing fine with that. Some people pick an event like Tour das Hugel, or they pick one of these charity rides. Some people pick a big gravel race or something like that, or a travel race. So like I think of Triple Bypass. I might think of the Unbound 200. Anyway, many of these domestic ones, or they might pick a European or a South American Gran Fondo and do like a travel experience around one of these events, right? So that's one area of specialization. There are some people that tour and do those things all along, but that's one area of specialization. Some people fall down the racing route and they really fall in love with gravel racing or road racing or triathlon, and they build on all of those elements. And then other people go down the adventure side of the sport and they try to do these like multi-day bike packing trips or these incredibly long rides, 400-mile rides in a day.
One day, 400 miles?
Sure. There's a group here in Austin that has done stuff like they've ridden all the way down to the border with Mexico. They've ridden to Dallas. They usually pick somewhere for the favorable winds, and they'll do 400 miles in a day.
Oh my God.
I can't imagine. And that's my longest rides are around the 200-mile mark, and every time I've done that, I've been tired.
I could not imagine. I
couldn't imagine flipping around and doing it again. So there's an appreciation I have for people that do that.
Yeah.
And then equally you've got people like I talked about in the Shoal Creek Shootout. Some of those kids were training. Some of those college students were training to ride their bike to Alaska. Right. They're going to do 50 or 60 miles a day for the better part of 3 months to ride to Alaska. That's just completely different, both from a psychological and physiological need on the bike, right? Like they're just out there.
They're out there. And between here and Alaska, I think there's mountains.
Yeah. They separate out into 3 different routes there, and one of them goes straight over the Rockies.
But they got some easier...
I don't know if they're really any easier. One goes through St. Louis and then comes back across, and then
oh my goodness,
I think they call it the Ozarks route. And then there's one that stays south and goes through Arizona, and they go through the deserts route.
You're going over some hills, though.
Yeah,
you're not getting there without doing some elevation gain.
Exactly. But yeah, so that like in that specialization phase, right? And it starts earlier or later for plenty of cyclists, and plenty of people like bounce around between them. But I think, generally speaking, that's where people have some sort of deeper connection to a goal event or a thing that they want to tick off and something that they're chasing, right? And I think that's where people start really having strong goal setting for these or major goal setting, right?
Yeah, training in some kind of training regimen or something.
Yeah.